Hope all of you can hear me as well. Can I have a quick confirmation? Sorry, I was on having other call. Office call got extended. That's the reason I just inform you to stay on the call. Thanks for staying. All right. So what was the last topic that we have discussed? The last topic that we done was adverse events, correct? We have done with all the terminologies that is related to this, that is all the required, permissible, as well as expected variables we have discussed in detail, correct? Guys, remember, I'm not talking about the code while defining the variables, correct? Because there are going to be three types of codes, if you remember. One is going to be the required variable, another one is going to be the expected variables, and the third one is going to be permissible variables, correct? So you know this one, right? You remember this one, right? We talked about this initially, correct? So all of you please understand that when we go with the coding part, so we consider and we give maximum preference to both the required as well as the expected variables, correct? So accordingly we need to do that. Anyways, we are taking care of that while writing the code, but still I'm just giving a heads up here. So we are having code pending, correct? So we need to take our raw data set. From the raw data set, systematically we need to convert that raw data set into your final SDTM compliance data set, correct, as per the SDTM guidelines. So this we do tomorrow anyways, because I just want to continue with one more domain today, because that is going to be a small domain. Because yesterday, if you remember, we have talked about MEDDRA, correct? Because all the medical related terms we have talked. So today we will discuss about one related domain here, which is nothing but the MH. So we will complete this and then we will proceed with the coding part. So that what I can do is tomorrow I'll explain the coding for AE and I'll expect you to write the code for the MH. That is how we will proceed tomorrow. Okay. And I also share you the raw data files for all the domains so that you can continue to write your code for CO, SV as well as SC, because these three also completed, correct? But we haven't write the code because for the special purpose domains, I have given you the code for DM. I explained how to write it, correct? And I also given a complete demonstration. So I'm expecting you to write for the remaining three, right? Subject, subject elements and all, and also comments. Okay. Now, when it comes to this one, adverse events, I'll explain tomorrow, and I'm expecting you to write the code for the EMH. So once you share the code, I will validate it if anything required, or if any doubts in the writing the code also, we'll explain that particular one to you guys. Is that okay to everyone? Can I have a quick confirmation? All of
Yes.
you are comfortable with that? Perfect. Cool. Today we will study. All right. So it's a very small domain. I can say that it won't take time. I think we can complete in today's class itself, and still even after that we are going to get a lot of time. All right. So let's start with that. So now we are talking about one of the simple domain, and the simple domain is going to be medical history. So the name itself is telling it is easy to understand. So it is saying that, oh, maybe I need to just a second. MH, so you call it as medical history. All right. So what it is going to talk about? So the name itself is telling it is going to talk about the medical history of the subject, correct? So this domain primarily deals with or records the past medical history. Remember, the past medical history of what? Of subject. The main thing that we need to understand here is, right, it can be, or maybe I can continue here, past medical history of the subject before treatment. That is, we are going to start our study treatment or study drug, right? So before treatment, at the same time, make sure And after ICF, what is ICF? Informed consent form, correct? So from the time the subject signed your informed consent form, from that particular time to before we start the treatment, we are going to deal this particular medical history. Is that clear? And what it contains actually, suppose if I say that what kind of things we are going to deal. For an example, it is not limited to this, but we are going to deal about, it can be of your illness, that is you're not well for some reason, or the diseases, sorry, I used the wrong one. Yeah, diseases, or anything related to surgery or surgery related. I can simply put surgery, or any accidental information. So some accident happened, maybe the leg got broken, or there is some severe injury to your head, or some internal injuries, but we don't know what exactly happened. But all this information we are going to capture, right? So this is very important to have the subject medical history, right? And that too, primarily the medical subject history we are going to, the subject's medical history we are going to record from the moment he or she signed your consent form to, from there to before we start the treatment. So this is very important one. All right, let's save this. MH. Today I'll send this notes as well, guys, because I haven't shared my previous notes also, right, for adverse events. Or have I saved it? No, I have saved it yesterday. I have saved it yesterday. Okay, fine. Now, so this is our medical history. So what is going to be the property? Can someone tell me how we are going to store the records here? Let's say for demographic, it is going to be one record per subject, right? For adverse event, it is going to be one record per adverse event per subject. Can someone tell me what is going to be the nature here? Can someone please tell me? How do we store the data? Guys, I need answers. You guys need to keep interacting with me. All
Is
right.
it one record for illness or disease and such?
Okay. Each illness is nothing but your medical history, right? I can call that as a medical history. 1 mh. Correct? That is, each of this is going to be one event, correct? Medical history event. Correct? So, one record per medical history event. Because if I say history is going to be, it contains all the events. I can say that between the ICF and treatment, the subject might, he might met with an accident. Post accident, he might have recovered, but after recovery, let's say that he might undergo another surgery. So two incidents happen. First incident is accident, and accident, as part of this accident related treatment, they have given some treatment. He got hospitalized. He was there for some time, let's say the 10-15 days, and he got recovered. But some major surgeries are still pending. So doctors inform that these major surgeries can be done only after patient is recovered and sustainable for the surgery. So after 15 days, again they have tested him. Then so they feel that okay, the patient is having enough strength or he can sustain this particular surgery. Then they proceed with the surgery after that. So two incidents happen here, two events happen here. One is accident, second one is going to be history. So each one we can call it as one event. Correct? So one record per medical history event per subject. Is that clear? Like how we have written one record per adverse event per subject. So there it is an adverse event, here it is going to be a medical history. Clear? All right. So like every time we are going to discuss about the topic variable. What is going to be the topic variable here? So the topic variable is here is In adverse event, we have AE term. So here it is MH term. So MH term stands for, can someone tell me what is going to be the medical history term? It is going to be the name of the event that happened, right? Any of this, correct? Illness, disease, surgery, all these are examples only, correct? But anyways, we discuss about that little now. All right. So now let's go with the identifier variables. So what are the identifier variables? In general, you already know what are them. So the common identifier variables are going to be, for every domain, there is going to be a study ID, which is nothing but, yeah, what is the study ID? It is your study identifier. So who is going to provide this? I'm going to talk about this in every domain. So who is going to provide this? Your sponsor. Where it will be part of? It is part of your CRF, your case report form. Right. Then what is going to be the second one? Domain. So what is domain here? Abbreviated domain name. So in our case, it is going to be MH. Correct? Medical history. Right. Then what is the next one? USUBJ ID. So what is USUBJ ID? It will be called it as your unique subject identifier. So how do you calculate this? It is going to be it is a derived variable, and main thing that we need to understand here is this derived variable is going to be a concatenation of study ID, site ID, and subject. I will repeat this throughout our domains, right? So even though you get bored, you need to go through this, because this is the one, these three are the common ones. And most of the times you are going to join one or more tables based on the study identifier and subject identifier, unique subject identifier. So that's the reason it is important and we need to do this. All right. So then the next one is going to be, whenever you have, remember this, the sequence will come all the time. Need to say you have subject visits. So subject can visit multiple times, correct? So each of them we are going to have the subject elements. There are multiple elements. So for each element there is a sequence number. Then we have adverse event. Multiple events happen for the particular subject. For each subject, for each event we have the sequence number, correct? Similarly, medical history events also, we have multiple events, correct? For each event, again, we are going to have the sequence number. For an example, if you remember in yesterday's class, let me open that for your reference. We have something called ASEQ, correct? What does this ASEQ stands for? This ASEQ primarily deals with, oops, just a second. Here it is. So this ASEQ primarily deals with a sequence number, any number, any numeric number, but it must be unique at a subject level within the domain. Can I say the same thing will be applicable here as well? Correct. So here we can simply call this as, because it is a continuation of your yesterday's one, right? Most of the terms are similar. That's the reason I have taken this immediately after your adverse event. Okay, so now it is going to be a MHSEQ. I can simply call this as a MHSEQ. So for the subject 111, there are 4 medical history events happened. For the subject 222, there are only 2 events happened. So remaining all will be the same, any numeric number, but it must be unique at the subject level within the domain. Clear? Right. The same way, I can also go ahead with my AE term. So the AE term is nothing but your medical adverse event term. The same will be applicable here as MH. What is your MH stands for? MH is going to be name of the event, but here it is going to be medical history event. That's the only difference. It's the name of the medical history event. Or as per the dictionary, if you want to talk, that is as per your what is it, SDTM guideline, if you want to talk it, it is a reported term for your medical history event. So remaining all going to be the same. Here I'm going to have MH. Here I'm going to have MH again, MH again. Instead of AE term, I'm going to have MH term. But here I can have the details like, it is going to be a disease, right? It is a disease or accident or surgery, correct? So that's the reason we go with the related terms here. Let's say the patient met with an accident, right? The patient before the treatment, he had fever. Before this particular one, the patient also, because of the accident, maybe I can write like this. Because of the accident, the leg got broken leg. Once he got recovered, but before he come for the treatment, he also suffered from the fever. So there are 3 medical history events happened, and all three we have recorded here. Clear, everyone? See, the reason why we have picked this is very simple, because it is going to have the very straight contacts with your adverse events. It is easy to proceed with this. That's the reason we have started with this particular one. So you can also see this particular here, right? It can be having the detail, because this is simple domain. We are going one by one. So all the details you can see here. So we are talking about the medical history term. This is the one that is a reported term for your medical history. All right. So you can see this. And most important thing that you need to understand here is we report this, we report as is mentioned in the CRF, right? Whatever it is mentioned in the CRF, as is, we are going to talk about this. Clear? All right. So the next one is going to be, you have coding, right? Because we have medical dictionary. So the medical dictionary coding is there, right? The same coding is also come to the picture here. All right. So I'm just going with the code. Just give me a second. It is. So you have AED code, that is dictionary derived term code. Correct? Same thing. We are also going to have it here. That is nothing but MHD code. So again, the same thing, dictionary derived term code only. This is the dictionary derived text description of your medical history term. That's the only difference. It is going to be same dictionary defined one. The only difference is going to be it is going to have the medical dictionary as is word for the respective one. Okay, maybe you can also check this particular one here. You can see the different examples. This is the one you can see, right? MH term, you also have the MH modified. Both of them are going to be the same. MH modified, maybe I can also keep this. Guys, can you tell me what is called AE modified? Yesterday we discussed, right? Can someone please tell me? Yesterday we discussed about AE modified. Can someone tell me that? Team?
Yeah, mild, moderate, severe, those things, right?
Sorry? Okay, it is like this. For an example, I say that
It will
in the
have the term from the dictionary, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Not exactly the term from the dictionary. Yes, it is term from the dictionary. Sometimes whatever your AE term is there, the AE term is almost going to be the same like your AE modifier also. Sometimes. For an example, if I give a simple example, let's say pounding headache, right, from past 6 hours. This is because I used the same example yesterday. This is the AE term, a detailed one. So this is what mentioned in your CRF. But when it comes to my AE modify, this I'll use for the coding purpose. I'll modify this for the coding purpose. Why should I write this much the long details? Simply, it is going to be a headache only, correct? So I'll simply write this as a headache. That's it. Remember, most of the times, whatever we are writing here under the AE modify is as is mentioned in your medical dictionary, but not always. But 90% of the time, we will go with the same. Okay, so that's the reason you can also see this one here in the while writing this particular one. We mentioned that AE decode is the derived code, right? It is based on the description of your AE term or AE modify, right? But that means that under the AE modify, for an example, I'll also go with all three together now. So I have AE decode. All right. So now I have AE term. The AE term is going to be high temperatures and dehydration from past 24 hours. So what is the meaning of it? Simply fever. My AE modify is going to be fever. Instead of writing all this, I mentioned as a fever. Now, if I go with this particular one, okay, Raja saying that AE occurred during the clinical trials, unexpected event happening during the unexpected things. Correct, correct. Raja, may know like why you are going with this now, like because I'm not talking about the AE now, but still your definition is correct, your understanding is correct. Any unforeseen or any unexpected event happened during the clinical trial is nothing but your adverse event. This is medical history. Before we start with this particular treatment, right? Because I cannot say clinical trial again because your screening, your ICF is also part of your clinical trials. So it is mostly, it is going to be from the time you are going to sign your ICF to before you start, before you undergo your treatment, between that, whatever you have, you're going to consider that as your medical history. Correct? Right. Now come back to this particular one. When it comes to this now, I can go with the respective, let's say that fever, MED-DRA. So for fever, MED-DRA, whatever is going to be the name here, that particular name we are going to use it in others. If it is going to be fever there, well and good. If it is going to be some other name there, you can use that. Maybe in the what to say, one of our DE domain, if I'm not wrong, we have given this. Okay, somewhere I have mentioned if I remember, but I'm not able to recollect it here. There is a very difficult name you are going to get it for the fever in the medical history, medical DRA. That you can use it
That's
here.
pyrexia.
Some difficult name I couldn't recollect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one you can use it as your AE decode. So now you can understand what are going to be the three different terms here. One, it will come from your CRF as is we are going to report it. AE modify for the coding purposes, right? For the coding liberty, we can give the relevant name. Thanks, Sanji. So now if I go with your AE code, this is going to be the name that we are going to use it for your fever, right? So someone told to me it is not going to be the, I told you, right? It is not going to be the exact same name as per the medical dictionary. We are not going to use it in the AE modify. In the AE modify, we can give the relevant names, but it is not limited to. Suppose if I know all the related names as per the dictionary, I can give the particular names also here. Instead of writing this particular one, I can directly give your pyrexia here as your AE modify. Nothing wrong in that. It is only for the coding liberty. Now all of you are able to understand what is the difference between all these three, right? The same thing goes here as well. Under the medical, your MHD code also, here we have MH term. This we write as is from your CRF. This is going to come from your coding guidelines. You can modify as per your wish. And finally, you are going to have something called decode. This decode is nothing but the derived dictionary code, right? So it is as simple as this particular. Can someone tell me what is going to be your medical dictionary current version that we are using? SDTM guideline 3.2, 3.3 is also there, but they are using 3.2. What is the medical DRE history version number? Anyone? Remember this? It is 22.1. Remember this. Yesterday I forgot to mention this, but just remember this particular one. Maybe I can put it here. All the medical MEDRA terms, we are following MEDRA version 22.1. Okay. Any questions here, guys? All of you are able to follow? Right? Now. So if you remember this, yesterday, from the adverse event itself, we talked about few terms. One of the term is going to be ODSYS. Sorry. What is this particular one? Body system or organ class. So who is going to use this particular one? This will be used by the sponsor from your coding dictionary, right? So from where it will be, what are the details it is going to have? It contains SOC. SOC stands for your standard of care, used by your sponsor for the analysis and summary. The same thing will be also come to your medical history. So here it is going to be MH. So here also the medical history also involve your body system or your organ class. Your sponsor is going to be the one who is going to use it. For what purpose he is going to use this particular one? He is going to use this for your analysis and summary. Most of them are repeated. That is the reason I keep going with this particular one. All right. Now, so the next relevant category is going to be, for an example, you have adverse event categories. You have category and you also have the subcategory. Two things are there, correct? So the both of them will be applicable here also. What are them? One is going to be MH, category of your medical history event, right? Used to define the related category, right? Used to define the medical respective category. Even if you want to go with this particular one, there will be some examples. Suppose, so what is the organ class or what is the body system that we are talking about? We can simply say that you are actually talking about the nervous systems, your nerve systems, right? Some issue with the nerve system. Similarly, if I come to the category, right? The category can be, it can be very general, or the category is related to the cardiac, or the category can be anything. It can be something related to your cardiac, or it can be your what is it? Ortho. What is ortho? Everything related to your, let's say, your knee pain or anything related to your bone related stuff. Correct? Orthonet. Then what is the subcategory in that particular case? I can say that my subcategory is going to be, it is subcategory of your medical history even. Still I'm drilling down. I'm going even, more details I'm giving, more further categorization I'm giving for my medical history events. Correct? Then, so these are generic and most of them are repeated from the yesterday's class. Right. Now, let's go ahead and talk about your dates. Maybe dates we can talk later, or let's complete it. All the dates together once we can go with. So we have adverse event dates, right? What are the dates we have? Adverse event, start, date, and time in character format. Use the same. Similarly, we have the end date, correct? Both of them we can take now. All the dates we can finish. So I just replace this with MH. I replace this with MH. So both of them are going to be start, date, and time of your medical history event. It is going to be a character variable. You are going to define that in the IS 8601DA or IS 8601 DT. Correct? So these are going to be talked about your start date as well as your end date. Correct? And medical history, the one additional variable come to the picture here. and that one additional variable is going to be MHDTC. That is, when you collected this particular history, that is medical history collection date, as simple as that. Or if you want to take about this particular one, date and time of medical history collection. When you have collected this particular one, right, that collection date, simply medical history collection date, as simple as that. When you have collected this particular one, the date also we are going to mention. Same thing. It is also going to be a character variable. It is also going to be a format is going to be either DA or it is going to be there. For everything we are going to have here dy, right? AE dy is there, right? DM dy is there, right? SV dy, SC dy. Similarly, here also we are going to have here dy. Let me talk about this. AE dy. What happened to this? Have we calculated this yesterday or not? It should, right? Oh, okay. We call it as AESTDY. Correct. Here it is going to be as simple as that particular one, because you are going to, there are going to be start dates and end dates there for adverse events or for DM, for everything. But here medical history you are going to do only at once. Correct. At one stretch you are going to do this particular one. So here you are going to have only one thing, that is nothing but MHDY. That is study day of history collection. So when you have collected this, that study day, you're going to do it. So again, this one, you all know you're going to do this particular one based on two different things. What are them? It can be derived. It's a derived variable. And is based on, what are the two things? One is your MHDTC, when you have collected this particular one. And from your demographic domain, you're going to have reference, study reference, start, date, and time in character format. So these two are the ones you are going to use this particular for this particular calculation. Again, you are going to have the same formulas here. What are the formulas that you are going to use here? Let's take this particular one. So when your MHDTC, this particular one, is greater than or equal to, yeah, reference start and date. In that particular case, this will become MHDTC minus RFSDTC plus 1. If it is not the case, if it is lesser than that particular one, then straight away you can consider that as minus. It is going to be the same formula we have been using from the demographic domain. So we are going to use it as is. Correct? Right. Then we are going to have the next one, that is nothing but your duration. You have AE duration here. Correct? The same thing we are going to apply here, which is nothing but your medical history duration. Right? Duration of your medical history event. This is not the derived one. Capture from CRF as is. Whatever is mentioned in your CRF as is, you are going to keep here. All right. Then the next one is going to be medical history pre-specified. We also have the same in your adverse event also, pre-specified things. It is already mentioned in your CRF. All those will be called it as your pre-specified things. So like this, pre-specified adverse events. Same thing we are going to have it here as well. These are going to be the pre-specified ones, but instead of your adverse events, you can call that as a predefined medical history event, right? So the adverse event happened, the medical history was already prepared, or already pre-specified in your CRF. But here it is going to be yes or no, but it is always expected, because there won't be any no's. If there is a no, the meaning is the patient is not cooperating with you. Patient is hiding the details from you. But remember, it is always a expected one. What do you mean by expected variable? It is good to have. It is good to have. You need to know all the details about this particular specification. All right. The next thing is going to be MH stat, a very important one. So the MH stat stands for what is going to be the status. Simply stands for medical history event status. Whether it is completed or it is not completed, what exactly is going to be the status of this particular one, right? For an example, I can write it here as, I'm going to show you the examples also by just like how we are taking the table, we take the table and also we discuss about it. Okay, we are going to talk it here as, okay, done. My status is done. All the medical history events data we have collected. Okay, one option. Second, it is not done. Okay, MHDY is based on the collection day or event happen day. It is based on the collection day. It is based on the collection day. You can see here when we have collected this. Because all the history from the patient you are going to collect on the same day. Correct? It is already a history. All the events information is available. But when it comes to the adverse events, those are ongoing. Okay. Okay, let's talk about this. A very good question. Let's go with this. Because the confusion, maybe a slight confusion comes under why for the other ones, whenever event happens, by the time we will collect it. Correct? That's the reason we have two things there. You have a STD, that is start date, as well as your end date. Two things we will calculate. Correct? Even if you go to the AE also, in the AE also we collected two things. What are the two things we have collected? One is going to be AE study start day, AE end day. But when it comes to the medical history, it is only one. Right? Why we are doing is, in adverse event, these are ongoing. They can happen anytime during your clinical phases. It can happen in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Even it can happen before the follow-up. Correct? Till my last follow-up, at any time it can happen. Those are going to be the ongoing events. Right? So that's the reason we have considered event happened date as my reference. But when it comes to your medical history, the name itself is telling it's already history, it's already done. These are not ongoing. Once you go with the treatment, once you proceeded with the treatment, whatever events happen, those falls here. Those are going to be our adverse events. Correct? Once it started, it is going to be our adverse event. These are happening prior to your treatment. These are happening before the treatment. But after your ICF, once you agreed to be part of your clinical trials, from that time to before your treatment start, these incidents happen, right? So let's say you are going to start the treatment. So right before you start the treatment, you know the complete history of the events happened between these two. Correct? You have a complete list, complete events, and all these event details you are going to collect at one stretch, one day itself. So that's the reason whenever you collect this, the collection date you are going to consider as the collection date you are going to consider for your calculation. Ankita, is that clear? Why we are going with this? Perfect. Make sure, please ask me these kind of questions. These are very important and very relevant, right? This question maybe others also might have the same question, but when you ask it, it will be benefited for everyone. So please keep asking the questions. All right. So we talked about the MH stat, which is nothing but what is the status? Have you done or not? Remember, when you haven't done, let's say your medical history is not done, right? You need to give the reason for that. You need to give the reason for that. Why the medical history collection is not happened. That is our very next variable. MHREASN stands for your reason. Why the reason, like why it is not done. REAS stands for reason, ND stands for not done. Why your medical history collection was not done. All right. So this is going to be reason for, or it captures reason for medical history or medical history collection not done. This is very important. And this variable will be populated only if it is not done. If MHStat is not done, then only your reason will come to the picture. All right. So what are going to be the examples? What are going to be the reasons? This is going to be a free text. There is no predefined or control terminologies. It is going to be a free text. So what is going to be the free text? Some of the examples are going to be patient refused to share the information. We cannot do, right? We cannot say anything. Or we don't know, he signed the form and before the treatment he left it. He signed the form, he hid the information. We are not sure because we are not going with a complete background check on this particular guy, right? Or I can say that patient left the site early before he provided the details itself, he left the site. All these are going to be the reasons. If you go to your this one, you are going to have few more examples. I'll give you here. This one, you can see. Where is my MHStat? Here it is. Can you see? This particular guy, ABC123, here for this particular person, the MHStat is not done. Why? The person who is recording these details, who is collecting this information, he forgot to ask. But you can see here, only if MHStat is not null, only MHStat is not null, only for that particular one you got here a reason for not done. Clear? A very important one. Right. The next one. So you know what is the status, you know what is the reason for that. Both of them also done. So the next thing that we are going to talk here is going to be, yesterday we talked about some endpoint references, right? The same endpoint references we are going to take here. So those are going to be, for an example, your end reference TPT. Let's copy this whole stuff and just paste it here. What are the things that we are going to talk about? This is going to be my MH. This is going to be end relative to the reference time point. That is timing identities at the end of event being before or after the reference time point required by your ANTPT. But we are not going with the ANTPT here. So if I don't go with that particular one, right, you cannot, we cannot understand this. So here also it will be depends on AE and endpoint only. This is also going to be our final end time point that we need to take it. So let's consider your MH first. Let me copy this from here, guys. End reference time point is there, right? Let's take this particular one. First, put this particular one here. That is, this is going to be MH ENPT. First, let's complete this and we can go for the. So this one is nothing but medical history end reference point. Correct? So based on this medical history end reference point, we are going to calculate this. Okay. So what is going to be this particular one? How do I calculate this particular one? If you remember yesterday, the same thing also will be applicable here. Maybe I can copy that example. This is going to be last visit of the subject also. That is also can be considered, right? The same thing also can be considered here. But instead of getting confused, let's go on a lighter note. What exactly it is, right? So what is going to be the end reference? So the control terminology is going to be same as your yesterday's one. It can be, if it is going to be a before, that is medical history event happened before the treatment, 99.99% of the time it is going to be the same, correct? Most of the time it is going to happen only after, only before your medical history treatment only, correct? Before the treatment starts only it will happen, correct? So let's have this one here as is, right? So this is going to be medical history, start date and time in character format is less than your reference. This is going to be before. It will be before. Then if it is going to be after, use it after. If it is going to be ongoing, what do you mean by ongoing? Your medical history details are not available. We don't know about this. We don't have medical history details. We don't have. In that particular case, we can say that this end reference point is going to be ongoing. It is going to be ongoing. Finally, we don't have any details about medical history. I don't have any details. Maybe it will be confusing. I can just change it a little. That is nothing but my MH start date details are available, but my end details are not there. Or in that particular case, I can call this as a missing one. Correct? Coincident. What do you mean by coincident? My medical history happened on the same day of my treatment. In that particular case, it is going to be coincident, right? But this one is slightly tricky, guys. I'll tell you why it is tricky also. I can give you the example. Maybe I can give you a little more examples. Then it is going to be easy. Maybe in the tomorrow's class, I can explain this particular one, because I need to give few examples for this one, because you may ask me one question, Murli, why medical history comes to the picture after the treatment? Because we are collecting everything before the treatment itself, right? Why it is coming to the picture, right? So for this, I'll take some end reference time points, and based on the end reference time points, I'll prepare some data and I can come back to you on this. Okay, this alone, just keep it for the tomorrow's reference. So I have to talk about three variables. Let me talk all the three variables first. Medical history end reference point, ENR, F. Medical history end reference point, that is time point actually it is, and relative time point. Maybe it's better to talk with the examples. So let's talk about these three tomorrow, and then we can continue with our class. That is with our coding part. So only three variables are missing, guys. Once we complete these three variables, tomorrow we go with the adverse event as well as your medical history coding, and then we can continue with the disposition domain. Okay. So three variables, I need the examples. I thought I can have it here, but I lost them. So I'll prepare it and I can come back on it. So tomorrow we can discuss on it. So disposition domain, again, it is going to be a simple one. It will not take time. Tomorrow we'll not tomorrow, I don't think so. Tomorrow is possible because we can go with the coding. So after this, we have disposition domain, and then we have protocol deviation and clinical events. So these three are the next three domains that we are going to talk about. So just giving you the heads up. All right. Any questions here, guys? All of you are comfortable up to this? Since it's going to be extension, almost like extension of your adverse events, I continued this here. So only three variables are pending with the examples to explain, and that I'll do by tomorrow. Any questions, please let me know. All right. Take care, everyone. See you tomorrow.